Well. Hello, and welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast, episode number 64.
I'm so excited already.
Oh, man. Danielle and I have been sitting here for probably, it has to be 15, 20 minutes already, just kind of discussing what's happening in the world of BMS and NBR, because there is a ton happening. The NBR Hair Isla is coming out, in a month for us at DKW.
Yeah.
It's literally around the corner, so we're very excited. We're dying.
Like hand-tied hair is like, you cannot find it. Like, we have people in our mastermind, they're like, this website's out of this color and this color and this color. They're like, one girl was like, I literally can't find any blondes in any line. And I'm like, oh.
Give us another month and a half and we got you, girl.
I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You want me to ship you some of my hair?
Well, and that's what I love is that when Isla comes out, we're only having it for the mastermind students for the sake of, honestly, the hair's just better. We're super stoked about it. It's been created a very special way for NBR. Danielle has tested and retested the colors left, right, up, down, back and forth to make sure that they are the best and they're actually what we need. We don't have 600 colors of crap. We have 12 essentials.
So, and I liked how Katie described it. She's like, we have 12, what did she call it, base colors or 12? Foundational colors. So, like, everything's pre-rooted, pre-toned, less silicone, more grams per weft. If you don't do hair, you're like, I don't know what that means. Just know it's, like, the best of the best. And it's going to make our job easier. I feel like with hair extensions, when you're scrolling through social media or anything, like, if the blend's off, regardless of the installation, you're like, urgh. And I thought, whenever I'm coloring with or working with other hair, I'm like, oh, my God, it's like starting from scratch, and I have to do a root and a tone and a low light, and it's just, like, it's a lot of work, and you have to be a very experienced hairstylist and hair colorist in order to get that blend. So I thought, if I can create better blends on basic foundational colors, it's just going to make it easier and make the brand itself look that much better. So that was my goal. And then also, of course, fade out, longevity, hair shed, texture, volume, density, all that good stuff. Because I wear it, like, I just was that much more invested. So that will come out. We are only releasing it to mastermind students. Number one, because you guys invested in you and we want to give you some perks. Number two, because it helps me control quality. There's nothing worse than like opening a product and then being like, shit, well, we underestimated, and now the blondes are back ordered for 6 months. Sorry about that. But stay excited. Stay really excited. It's just back order for next 6 months.
In 6 months, you'll be really happy about this.
People lose interest. Like, for me, like, if I'm shopping online, it's like back order. I'm finally like, screw it. You know what I mean?
Do you want a perfect example of that? So we use but we use this like system called Trello, which is basically, imagine like an online list keeper, which sounds lame, but it's amazing because you can do it like inside of an entire company. You can share like cards to say like, okay, Danielle, you and I are working on this. Me and Jeff are working on this. Me and Garrett are working on this, and where everything is going. It's amazing. Yeah. I just found out if you buy Alexa from Amazon, you can actually say, Alexa, make a Trello card for XYZ, and it does it automatically. Oh. So I bought one from office and I bought one from a house because I'm constantly running around. Either I don't have my phone, or that's why now I'm even wearing my Apple Watch again, because I'm like, I need to remember like to take notes and things. Not gonna lie, I watched an entire course on this last night and my mind is blown. Ooh. We're really trying to get Garrett on board. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But I went to Amazon and I really wanted the Alexa that's in black. And it's like, oh yes, we have it March 25th. And I'm like, oh, that's like tomorrow. Then I'm like, gross, that's in 5 days. Like, that's fucking outrageous. I'm so used to same-day shipping because we live in California that I'm like 5 days, and then I have to wait another 2 days for it to get here. No. So I went with a different color, but I almost bought none of it because I was so bugged that the color I wanted was gone. Oh. 5 days.
Wow.
Imagine 6 fucking months.
Yeah, no. I would be no. Because then you lose interest and you're like, screw it, I'll go with this one instead.
I'll figure something else out.
I'll do something else. Yeah, so that's like annoying. But yeah,
which,
that happens
you know
all the
what's
time.
so funny? I feel like something very similar has happened inside of BMS. Because as you guys have heard, we've talked about it many times, that we actually closed BMS down pretty much for the entire year. We have our mastermind students, which the door to that is closing come April or...
Yeah. If you were on the fence, get in, because, and I'll just say this really quick, but I just talked to a shadowing student who was like so close, and I know there were so many people that were like so close, And I'm like, just get your doll heads done. Like, you won't have access to the hair, and with shortage of hand-tied hair, like, it'll be worth it. Plus, you'll get wholesale costs versus, like, next year we may open it up to more NBR artists. But if you're not inside the mastermind, you don't get the same, you're not getting the same pricing. So that alone is worth getting your work done. Like, we require you to do, like, 30 doll heads, right?
It's 30 rows on a mannequin, turning in 30 of this, like, marketing part that we do. There's quite some things to do, but they're really not terribly tedious.
Yeah.
But do you know what's so funny? I got another email yesterday from a girl. She's like, Ani, I dropped. I was done with my initiation, and I dropped because this is something that happened in my family. And I'm like, I hear you. She's like, I fucked up.
Did she want to get back in?
Yeah.
Oh, but she did her work?
Yeah, she did her work. And she's super nice. Like, I've let in a few people back in because they were like, I was stressed. I didn't know what to do. So I just said, I'm out.
Yeah,
and
too
they're
much
like,
pressure.
and then they go, I can't do it now alone. They're like, alone, it's 1,000 times harder. I'm like, I know. I've done it alone. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
So because we actually closed down BMS and Mastermind for this year, so many people have been going to like other methods and reading the application. We've received, it's almost 500 applications in 1 week to attend BMS Con 4 in November. And
BMS, for those of you who don't know really quick, BMS is Natural Bearded Rose Education. So if you follow like the NBR page on social media, when people are like, oh, how do I get into a class? Is there online? Is there this, that? Like, BMS is the education. Everything was closed down this year. We offered one event that was application only.
And BMS stands for Big Money Stylist, but one of the artists just told me, she goes, when I think of BMS, I don't think of Big Money Stylist. I think of business, marketing, and sales. I'm like, oh.
Damn it, I like that.
Damn, girl.
Because Garrett named Big Money Stylist. I was like, Big Money? I was like,
Money.
I can't do it. It's so not me.
But that's what I always say. I'm like, NBR is the hair method.
Business, marketing.
But BMS is always the business portion, but business, marketing, and sales. Oh, I know, girl. I know.
If we change it, thank you.
Yeah, thank you also. But anyway, so because we closed it down, I feel like tons of artists have been going to like other methods that were cheaper or easier to get in. And because I'm the one that literally has personally read 500 applications, Lord help me some days, so many have said, I've waited out for NBR because I know it's the OG, it's the real one, the true one. Or some have said, I took another class. It was not great. And I'm like, ooh, bummer, you know? Yeah. And it's not one brand I'm digging on. They're just saying in general, they took a class, they didn't love it.
Yeah.
But there's been an interesting dynamic recently. Because now the door has opened back to attend a BMS event, which is the only one open to the public this fall. I feel like now NBR is blowing up because of BMS. It's blowing up because of Isla Hair coming out. It's just getting bigger. Our artists are having massive results.
Yeah.
We're past even talking about $10,000 a month or $15,000. I keep hearing $30,000 a month. $40,000 a month, $75,000.
That's nuts. One of my lead trainers. So we opened up last year to platform artists, so that because it was just me and Ani, and I'm like, I need more trainers. So I took like my top 5 people that have been in NBR for over like 3 to 5 years, who were salon owners, business owners, having a lot of success. And it's so funny. I'll just say it's Amanda, but she is like the one that she's like, all right, y'all have a nice day. Like
she's from Texas,
and she's just like, you're worth it, girl. Like she's so cute and sweet, and she's like the one you don't see coming. And then she's told us that like 1 month she made $75,000. How many chairs does she have?
No, so literally last month, February 2019, I'm like, Amanda, what'd you make last month? And she's like, just me or my salon? I'm like, no, just you personally, your clients, no assistants, no staff. She's like, oh, it was like $75,000.
I about shit my pants.
I was like, you make more in 1 month than people make in a year. A year.
I know. But she only has, like, I think
she has one.
She has
one
2
employee,
chairs, doesn't she? And one employee?
One employee and like one assistant.
It's not like she's running a full service salon and has like a huge overhead.
No, she is. It's maybe 2. It's 2, maybe 3 chairs.
Yeah. So
tiny salon.
Yeah.
Just her doing hair.
You know what? That is so crazy. And I know she's like, I'm working 5 days a week, because we always promote like work 3 or 4, take the weekends off. But even like working 5 days a week, making that kind of money is ridiculous, whether you do hair or you do not. So I was like having a really proud mom moment. But that's what you know what? When I heard that number, I literally like almost like felt like this overwhelming sense of like emotions too, because that's all I ever wanted for people. Like as a mom myself and like doing hair, I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because everybody has this preconceived notion of what, like a cap on what they think they can make or like where they need to live in order to create this income. And like hearing that, and she started with me, I think 5 years ago. So she's put in her time and she's worked hard.
It was 2016, right after me.
Yeah, but what's crazy, I'm like 5 years. Like that seems like a long time, but not really. And so to hear those results, I'm like, that's why we're fucking doing this. And like, that's what I want for people. And I realize like she's like one, that's why I made her a platform artist, but it's so doable.
For sure.
So doable.
Well, and what people have to realize is it's not just NBR. It's not like she only does the method. There's, like I said, the BMS, business marketing and sales portion of it. There's tons that we invest into the artists and teaching them and training them and showing them the front end, the actual business side, which is why Amanda's been so successful.
Right.
So I feel now because NBR it's on the map.
Yeah.
The people that Danielle has partnered up with to create the hairline are not small people. They're
a huge extension.
Massive.
Well, and that's what's so crazy. Like I was going to partner up with some other people and like nothing against them and whatever. But then I had this company, like nothing was moving very fast. There was no contract signed, like nothing was moving forward. And I was like, God, I don't know. I just know this is the next piece of the puzzle. I need a hairline. You know what I mean? And then this company approached me. They own several hairlines in the marketplace, not a hand-tied line. And they started like searching down the rabbit hole and they were like, hey, hand-tied hair is super trending. Who created it? Who started this trend? And that's how they found me. They're like, oh, she's the OG of making hand-tied hair cool. Hand-tied hair has been around for like probably ever. I don't know. I mean, it's been long. It's been around for at least 30 years from what I know. But it wasn't trending until the last 5 years. So they sought me out and I was like, oh my God, these guys are perfect to go into a relationship with because they have access to multiple factories and they've already proven and come out with multiple hairlines. And so like right out of the gate, they just had more access or more connections. And I was like, these guys are the ones I want to work with. And it worked out really well and things have moved quicker and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. So NBR it's on the map. Like it just is. And then partnering up with this company and then BMS is getting bigger. Like our wait list was like 4,000 or something fucking crazy. Like it was so insane. But so because I've been the one going through all the applications, seeing what people are writing, then it's also up to me to approve and decline, which people hear that and they're like, you're declining people. Yeah.
Even I was like, Ani, what's grounds for denial? Because I'm like thinking like, yeah, like I'm like passionate about education. I'm like, yeah, let's get them in. Let's fill it up, you know?
Yeah. So
then she told me some of the
so I told her, I'm like, well, some of the justifications for not allowing them in are number one, they're not currently licensed. And I had people, they're like, but I'll graduate in like October.
Yeah, that's always been like a firm stance though.
Yeah. And they're like, but I graduate October. I'm like, I hear you, but it's going to be a firm now. Like you have to be licensed currently now
to purchase.
So, and they were bummed, but they all completely understood. Yeah. So you're currently not licensed. On top of that, you're currently not doing hair. I can appreciate people who took a break for whatever reason, but some of the ones I read, they're like, I haven't done hair in 5 years. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
If you're not doing hair now, you've been out of the game for 5 years. NBR is not like a, oop, boop, done. Like, it takes work.
Well, and there's a lot you have to know with just color and cutting background. So,
so there was that. And most were understanding. I have one very, very snarky email sitting in my inbox right now. And on top of that, I will be honest, it was some answers like, why are you a good fit for BMS? Oh, well, if I am, good. If I'm not, okay. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, you're not.
Or one of my favorites is, what is marketing and why is it relevant to your business?
I marketed you big dumbass.
His response was, I don't need marketing, but I can see why it'd be relevant for like other stylists. Oh, okay. Fun. I'm going to have to let that one go. But those were reasons why people were declined.
And this is not something that just goes in our industry of hairstylists. Like this is just like sometimes it's weird to see human responses to things in general.
You want to come here and all you're saying is you don't need us. One girl, she's like, I have a massive salon. Like basically she's like, I'm a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what's one more thing you would like? What's one thing you would like to learn about business? She's like, nothing. I know it all, but I guess I'm open.
That's cool.
Well, why the fuck are you applying for this? So
yeah. You know what, though? It's so funny because, okay, like, again, I'm trying not to, like, dig on stylists. It's more like human nature. Like, sometimes I think that we all think that, right? Like, we can all have that, like, ego or that, like, my initial response to some people might be that same as that girl. I'm not going to say. But I don't put it on an application. Like, if I want to take a class, I'm like, excited to get in, excited to learn more. always excited to learn more. Like, I'm not saying it's not natural to like have that thought come into your head, because like we've all been there.
Yeah.
But
because here's the deal, like ego, everybody has an ego. And anyone who's sitting there listening and they're like, I don't have an ego. Hint, that's probably your ego talking, saying that you don't have an ego.
And an ego can be good.
Yeah, I'm not saying an ego is a bad thing. Yeah. I'm saying everybody has one. If you are a trainer, if you are an educator, Garrett and I just had this conversation. To do that, you have to have a big fucking ego to think that you people want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
And it's not a bad thing until you let it become a bad thing of I know everything.
Right.
I have been doing hair for 10 years. I've been inside of BMS literally since the day it began. Besides Danielle, I don't think anybody has more reps than me at this point. Like with all the training I do, all the practice I do, everything, it's Danielle, then it's me. Like I have busted ass to be where I am, but that by no means makes me think that I know everything. I feel like once you tell yourself like, I don't need to know anything, well, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because you'll never grow from that place because you're being an asshole.
And there's got to be this balance of respect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you have, there's like sometimes where you might feel like, I think my work's like better than yours, or I think I'm good, or whatever. Like, you can't, like, when you've been in the industry, whatever industry you've been in for long enough, even if you have that ego where you're like, I'm pretty awesome, you still are like you still have to be open to learning and growing. And there's like this balance of respect where you're like, I can respect what you've built and I want to learn more.
Well, okay, let's look at it this way. Amanda, the artist that we were just talking about, who's making $75,000 a month, we sat down and she's a fucking hustler and her work is stunning. Her pictures are beautiful. Like her work is legit. And we were all sitting down talking and she said, well, Danielle, I would love for you to go look at my work and give me feedback, give me constructive criticism. Like, let me know what I can adjust. Zero ego there about it. She wasn't like I'm the platform artist and I make this much and I'm so good. No, she was like, hey, be blunt about it. Right. I don't give a shit. Just let me know.
Right. And I had told people too, I'm like, hey, I do this with my team, like you guys being on the platform artist team. Like, I'd love to do some kind of like open photo feedback, because honestly, and I've always said this because I'm super crucial on myself and on my team with photos. Critical when I say crucial, critical. And I try to like nail it into my team all the time. I'm like, you guys, if you become critical of your own photos, I don't like the word critical. It sounds negative. What's a better word? Well,
just if you have a negative connotation with critical, drop it. And it's not.
Okay, there you go. So like refined eye. It's art is subjective. I get it. But and I taught this in our last BMS class, I'm like, if they're like, because everyone always wants to know like photo and editing apps and all that, and I'm like, there's some things in photos that you just can't edit out, so you need to understand that and stop asking me what editing app I'm using. And I gave them like a checklist of things to look for when taking a photo, and I'm like, if you can constructively look at your work and say, I should do this better, or even if it's down to style, like if you're like, I don't like these curls, or I don't like this highlight, or you know what, I should have smudged her bang more, or I wish I would have put a different toner. We as stylists constantly take notes on what the formula we did. But one thing that I encourage my students is I'm like, take a look at your photos. Don't only just write the formulas, but also write notes on like improving your work. And photos for me, like if you look at some of my old work compared to my new work, you're like, shit. And I love seeing that growth in myself. And it's become through like having that, just being able to look at your own work and critique it and not have the ego of like, well, I'm already super awesome at what I do. Because hair is one of those things, it's constantly evolving and you can learn and grow. It's just how it is. And so I'm like super passionate about it, and I feel like I'm like being critical, but I've seen the growth and results in myself, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but results speak louder than words. So remember that and be able to give yourself feedback and drop the ego and be able to up your art, your game, your marketing, and whatever it is.
And even I'm going back to my emails because,
yes,
girl, I got so many. Someone had actually emailed me and she's like, well, first she claimed that us saying that our artists make over $20,000 a month was a lie. That's pretty much what she was insinuating. And I was like,
you want me to send you the paper trail, or
I honestly,
actually, I don't even care.
I ended up posting on my Instagram. I'm like, if you don't believe me, well, here's a screenshot of some of our artists.
Because she's putting a cap on what she thinks is possible to make in our industry and specifically for herself. So shame on you. And the only person can change that is you.
Mm-hmm. And I got another email that was like, last year, your education was $1,000. Now it's $4,000. why? What's so different now?
I like when you do the voice with it.
Because that's how I'm reading it. Fun fact, if you're going to send me some snarky fucking email, that's the tone I'm reading it in.
I used to get all my emails and now
now I get all her emails.
I send them to you, Crystal, Lo. And so, but I would get so triggered and I would read it back in my head exactly like that. Like, so, and I'd be like, this girl's an absolute bitch.
And honestly, there are some things there is no way for me to read it any other way. So,
yeah, no, when it's in all caps with exclamation points and a steamy face emoji, like
ooh, I got one of those for sure. But yeah, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell is different? I'm like, what is not different in the year? Not only is where we're doing it a cool ass place, which is not like you're paying more for a cool building, but we're able to provide more in terms of the experience there. More trainers, more education, better NBR education. The Isla hair's obviously coming out.
Hold on, I gotta flip this question on her because like there's a list of a list of so many things. But I want to ask you this: when you raise your prices for a client and they ask you, "Well, why are you any better?" How do you respond? I'm sorry, flip your own fucking question, you guys. Come on. When I hear stuff like that, I want to punch my own self in my face.
I'm so mad at you. I'm going to punch my face.
That's like one of the things that's been taught in our industry from the beginning of time. Like you raise your prices, like however you do it, you raise your prices. And usually your work
and our rule is always, if you raise your prices, you better be damn sure what you're giving
up
them.
Your quality, up your education. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stylists out there, they're great about taking tons of education and all that. And then they keep their prices the same. I'm like, let me get this straight. You took like 17 classes last year. Your work literally looks better when I look at your feed. And you're having a hard time raising your prices? Why? That's on you. So that's why when I heard that question, I was like, flip that question and ask yourself the same goddamn thing. Are you going to charge your clients the same price for the rest of your fucking life?
The answer's no. So let's talk about Disney really quick. Woo. Did you guys know, interesting topic of conversation for me at least, Disney has something called a Disney Vault. So I probably have every single VHS tape of every Disney movie ever. And this was literally probably 2-3 months ago now. Something like that, 3-4 months ago. I really wanted to watch a Disney movie. I don't know why. It doesn't happen often. Yeah. I'm like more of a Harry Potter girl, but sometimes the Disney bug just strikes.
I get it. I sometimes like, I really want to watch Cinderella, and I go to Netflix. I'm like, it's in the fucking vault.
It's nothing. Not only is it in the vault, it's not on Netflix, it's not on Hulu. No. You can't even buy
I'm trying to YouTube it, and its quality sucks.
All of a sudden, there's police at her house. They're like, ma'am, turn off Cinderella. But it's crazy because Disney, I mean, props. That's a great marketing thing. But I was literally, when I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I want it, whatever Disney movie it was. I'm like, I want to watch it. And I couldn't because it's in the vault. When it's in the vault, you can't buy it in VHS. You cannot buy it in DVD. You cannot buy it on iTunes, Amazon. Like, there's no black market anything. You cannot buy it. When they choose to release it is when you can buy it. If you don't, you're shit out of luck. I ended up getting Pocahontas, and now because I know this happens, because sometimes they only release something once every few years,
that's smart
or
bastards.
Like 5-10 years. I
don't even like Pocahontas. That's my least favorite one, and you better believe I buy that when that shit comes out.
I bought that bitch, and now I'm always like, all right, what Disney movie's out? So I got a couple emails this week of artists saying hi.
Can you do the voice? Okay.
Hello, Danielle, because they were for you, FYI.
Cool.
So I bought your online training a few years ago, and I'm trying to log in. One was 2 years, one was 4 years ago. I'm trying to log back in.
I didn't have one 2 years ago, so.
I think it was up, but you weren't selling it anymore.
Okay, I was like, I know I was not selling it.
No, you weren't selling it, but it was still up. But she was like, I bought your online training like X amount of years ago, and I'm trying to log back in, and it's not letting me log in. So can I get the, password?
Username and password.
Yeah,
or whatever.
and I answered back, and I'm like, hey, thank you so much. We actually, like, the entire platform that we used it on, we don't use those videos. We don't use, like, literally, it's all gone. I told him,
we teach it differently.
It's taught differently. The quality's different. Like, everything is so different. Yeah. And I told her, I'm like, the only way to access the new training videos that are here are by being inside of Mastermind or attending BMS Con 4. Here's the link. See you November. She emailed me back and was like, no. I paid for this. It said unlimited access. Can you just send me a DVD?
There was not even a DVD to offer.
I could not believe that was actually a question. So I'm sitting here. I answered back and said, no. I told her again, I'm like, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
That training does not exist anymore. The platform is gone. The videos are gone. It's completely different. She's like, well, I want my money back from 2 years ago. And all caps, who can I speak to about this? And I was sitting there, I'm like, the answer is you speak to me. Hi, I'm the one you speak to.
Hi, this is not Danielle. This is Ani.
Oh, don't worry. It's my email. I write my name at the bottom of everything.
I don't want to look like the bad guy. Just kidding.
I'll do it. That blew my mind. Would you buy? I have all the VHS tapes at my parents' house in Missouri.
I'm going to email Mr. Disney's not live anymore, but I'm going to email.
I'm going to email Disney and say, hi, I bought The Little Mermaid back in 1991, but it's VHS and it's not out right now. And I know like it doesn't exist in DVD platform like currently and you're not selling it, but can you just send me one in DVD because, you know, I bought one 20 years ago.
Now, I know you only release it and it's in the vault, but I demand that you send me this.
Oh, she literally said demand. All caps.
Yeah,
oh.
And that's it's so silly.
What?
I know, it's so silly. Like, I'm literally like, I don't know how to respond. Like, I'm glad you responded.
And I could not respond for a whole day because I would read it and be like, the fuck? Like, honestly, that was my response of what the fuck?
Well,
but it blows my mind. I paid for, let me explain this. I, as a student back in 2015, March of 2015, paid for the online training. March of 16, I paid for a group class. May of 16, I paid for BMS 1. November of 16, I paid for BMS 2. I paid for every single thing along the way, but I would never call Danielle or try to email her and say, I lost access to this. Give it back to me.
I demand a refund. I've watched it several times and I've now lost my login, but if you can't give it back to me, I demand a refund. It's like I honestly am the type of person that I always try to put myself in somebody's shoes and be like, okay, I wouldn't operate like that, so it was really hard for me to even put myself in her shoes. And I was like thinking, like, even if you went to take a shirt back to Nordstrom's and you're like, hey, I lost a sleeve, I demand a refund. Like, it seems silly. And I know her claim was, oh, it's unlimited access or whatever from like a really old blog post, but in the contract they fill out, it's unlimited access for a certain amount of time.
And it even says in there,
and it says in the contract, and there's like terms and conditions you have to check, and people don't really like. How often do you actually read through a whole contract? You're just like, yeah, bye, check terms and conditions. Like,
do you want me to answer that?
No, people don't do that. They don't read it. Oh, well, you're not normal.
I read so many.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm guilty of that. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, like even at the doctor's office, I'm like, yeah, check.
Oh, that one I don't care.
But that's what I'm saying is like, there's oftentimes I'm like, so you can't demand something when you didn't actually go over your contract. And we pulled up her contract and it says like unlimited access for like 30 days or something like that.
It's a full refund up until 30 days.
Oh, okay.
Well, what blows my mind is this is not a product that went bad. It's not a car that stopped working, a laptop that went out on the fritz. It's not a ring that lost a diamond. You paid to learn a skill, something that you do not lose. You paid to learn a skill, you learned the skill, and because you chose to no longer use that skill except willy-nilly, now because NBR is blowing up, now because BMS is getting bigger, now because Isla's coming out, you have a giant bug up your butt and you're pissed at us because you chose to not use the skill that you paid for, and now because you chose to not use it, you want us to give you your money back 2 to 4 years later.
I just think that's silly. Like if somebody emailed me and said like, hey, it's that platform does like no longer exist. We have a new form of education, or we'd love to invite you to like another class. Like I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
hi, I went to this college and I got my master's. I know it's been 10 years, but I don't use it. So I would like my money back. No, I'm sorry. You still learned something. And this is not, because I know someone's going to listen to this and they're going to get so triggered and be like, Ani's such a bitch. She's so mean. It's not that. Imagine this was your company. Imagine you are the one getting nasty emails from people who are upset that they didn't make it in, or upset because it's been a year since they've looked at. Because guys, fun fact, those videos have been down for over 6 months now.
No, they've been down for way longer.
We have not sold it in about 2 years.
Yeah.
In about a year and a half. And they've been fully down. Oh no, since way last summer. It's been almost a year.
It's been a while. And even then, I don't think they were only like up for new mastermind students. They weren't for sale.
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if you remember this, but at the beginning of last year, I was like, we need to take this down. We're not selling it anymore. Karen and I had a massive talk. I'm like, take that down. We're not selling it anymore.
I know. I don't think I was selling it.
No, we have not sold online training since 2017.
Yeah, I was like, I swear it's been longer than that. But
it's just, but either way, what? And what makes you think emailing, yelling, and screaming is going to get you anything? Because hint, it's not. Either way, you're not getting anything because you already paid for it. Yeah. You cannot pay to learn a skill, be upset, and demand your money back. You would never go to a color class, have them teach you all their tips, all their tricks. Yeah. 2 years later, you're like, so I haven't used your method at all. I've never balayaged anyone like this, so I would like my money back.
Can you send me a DVD for that? All right, we sound like a bunch of dicks, but like,
and we're not being a dick. Pretend it's your business. Look at it that way. Like, honestly, how would you feel if that was your company?
Right.
And that's why I know I am definitely the spicy one. I'm the one that I don't really get hot and bothered. Actually, I'm not bugged easily.
I think that you've had like a ton of emails like this week because we've had education. And you just get baffled by like weird responses. Like I said, it could be human nature in any industry. Like
for sure,
you get like, and you're like, really? You're like, huh? And you want to like, you have to politely like respond. But honestly, those people are like not a fit for the education. Like if their questions are that, like as a business owner, I'm like, no, I don't want them in our education. Like I'd rather have people that are excited to be there. And if they have an ego, great, but don't respond with an ego. Like otherwise I'm like, I don't really care if you're a part of my education. We have limited spots and we want people who want to be there.
And even it's so crazy because the platform artists that we've brought in, everyone has an ego. Like I said, if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't have one, that's literally your ego talking because you have such a big ego that you can't admit you have an ego. So that's a fascinating thought in and of itself. But the platform artists, we've sat there and trained. Like I've looked at their work and been like, okay, adjust this, jig that, do this. And none have ever come back with an attitude, with anything. There's been no ego. It's just like, oh, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you grow and you move on. And that's the only way to grow.
You may even have this issue inside of your salon. I know for a while, like for me, like I try to give like feedback to people that were in my salon at some point and the energy was weird and they weren't like open to feedback. And then I was like, oh my God, like this is how I want things. This is the standard. And it was this ego of like, well, I know you're the boss, but I'm better than you. And that didn't work in my environment. And you may be a salon owner listening to that. And I challenge you to ask yourself like, hey, if you're the salon owner and you're educating your staff and they're having kickback, why are they having that kickback? Like they might not be a good fit for your salon and your energy and your vibe that you're currently like that you hold a standard to.
Or honestly, you're the artist. I have to talk about this email, a beautiful one. Like,
okay,
no, this one, I was like, I sat there, I read it 4 times. I sent it to Garrett. We were like, okay, universe, got you. I won't say her name, but she said, basically, quick backstory. I've been working as a stylist for 13 years. I've taken every class. I've always been like a what's next. And she's like, I've busted my ass working long days doing 10 or more clients in a commissioned salon. I attended BMS Con 3 in November and my mind was blown and I was energized for my vision for 2019. And I just came back for the Mastermind Intensive in California. Went home again, high on motivation, confidence to keep working and hard on creating a successful business and balanced lifestyle. Bearing in mind, she doesn't even own the damn salon. She's making someone else money. She's just stoked to be doing this in general. Right. She goes, well, tonight at 8 p.m., after a long day without a lunch break, my owners came into the salon to talk to me about how they do not approve of BMS training. She said it was laughable to hear how close-minded they were about continuing education, having a website, having a funnel, building a brand, attracting a target market. She goes, they are trying to ban all, quote, unapproved outside education, social media posts, and personal websites, and they must take all services, including men and kids. They presented documents and wanted me to sign on their terms. She goes, I did not even look at them, and I gave my notice immediately.
Oh, that's frustrating, too, because, like, you figure if you're a stylist and, like, it's not like we're just like, hey, I mean, obviously we're like, yeah, just do NBR. Like there's physical numbers that prove that if you move your book of business to just like NBR and color, you will make more money. We've even had people inside of our mastermind who are salon owners who are like, you know, they're trying to fill time and gaps. And I get it. Mm-hmm. Like nobody, if you're a salon owner, you hate seeing gaps on the books. And so what happens is we start doing a ton of add-on service and blow dries and this and that. And I've had salon owners tell me like, oh, we started doing upsells with like blow dries and this and that. But then they weren't making any more money. Mm-hmm. And so like, I get your stance on things. You're like, you see holes in your books and you're like, we're not turning down clients. We want you to take everything. But if you look at the dollar amount, like, okay, if I don't know her name, but like, hey, as a salon owner myself, speaking to another salon owner out there, if you look at like the logistics of like, okay, Sally is making XY, if she has 9 appointments on her books and she makes XYZ, that is beneficial for her. So why would we not support her in making herself more money as well as us?
For sure. So she emailed me and she goes, I gave them my all for 7 years, helped them from opening day. I've trained, led entire teams, and constantly leveled up, killing every benchmark. She goes, it's a joke that they're trying to hold me back and now attack the program. But she goes, but guess what? I feel awesome and I'm so excited what's next. She's like, thank Danielle, Coach Ani, and Garrett. You scared the shit out of my boss in those BMS Con 4 videos. She goes, I fucking love it. She goes, it's just stagnant and I can't be on a sinking ship any longer. And I had the courage to leave tonight because of the empowerment of BMS. See you guys March 28th. She'll be here for our NBR intensive next week. But I read that and I was like, damn.
Right.
That to me is amazing. She left the salon on her own terms because she's happy about it. She's not sitting here like, oh, dear God, what did I do? I'm poor. This is terrible. She's like, okay, I want to do.
They said their terms.
Here's my path.
Do that, so that's fine.
Done.
Yeah.
And for her, it's not a big deal. And I told her, we were talking this morning, and I said, here's your chance. Here's your chance to get clear on what you truly want, and then every step you take leads towards that path.
Right. And as a salon owner, you have to know, like, if you're going to set specific like targets or change things, you risk losing artists. I know. We, like, as I was building my own teams, like, we changed commissions and we had several changes. And then like 3 of my stylists were like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I'm like, cool. And it ended ugly because of things that didn't need to happen. However, like, you have to understand as a business owner, as you change, if you like, or if you're trying to make it better, you may lose people along the way. If you are firm on your decision, like, and you lose people on the way, that's going to happen. The other thing I tell artists too is I'm like, hey, if you're feeling like your boss or whatever is resistant, the best way to come up with a conversation with your boss is show them the numbers. Like, don't just come with like, hey, I think I can do it. Like,
I have an idea.
Yeah, I have an idea. Like, if you physically, we're in the business of making money. Any business is in the business of making money. If you show them, hey, here's my spots available. Here's what I think I can make. Like, as a salon owner, you might be more open. All of a sudden you're like, oh, all right, well, what the little piece I know about BMS and NBR, like, maybe it triggered me, maybe it's crazy, but results speak louder than words. So if somebody came to me and showed me numbers, I'd be like, kind of like, okay, a little bit intrigued. So I always tell people, even inside of our own programs, I'm like, hey, if you come to where you feel like you're at a crossroads because you're like trying to do things differently and they're kicking back, show them the numbers. Don't just tell them your vision, show them the numbers of what potentially it could be like. And 9 out of 10 times, like, if that, like, again, if as a salon owner, like, cool. And if they kick back, then at least you're like, went into it. Like, I showed them, they're still not interested. I'm going my own way. And you split paths. Like,
and then, that's just not the path for you anymore. There doesn't have to be animosity. It doesn't have to be some big dramatic thing. It's just not your place anymore. I left a salon like that in Missouri. A big salon that I worked at for a few years. One day it was literally, I'm like, this just doesn't work for me.
Right.
Like, my contract was coming to like an end. Like, I had been there for like a certain amount of time and I knew, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to make a change, the change is going to be now. And then I went in one day and I was like, I'm out. I'm going to go rent my own suite. It's like a salon loft. Like, I'm going to go rent that and I'm going to do my own thing. And it wasn't good for a bit. Like, it really wasn't.
It always gets weird when somebody knows you're going to leave.
Yeah, she was really upset. And it was a very like, but you were supposed to stay. I'm like, but I'm not happy here.
Yeah.
This isn't. And that was a major risk. I was like, well, I better really start building up this clientele now. So final words, Danielle, on egos, entitlement, and just doing what's right for you.
I just think in the long run, like, egos and entitlement, they can only serve you to a certain point. And if you're that person that's like saying, oh, it's not possible to make that kind of money, like, whatever, you're really like, you're selling yourself short. And if you don't have an open mindset, then you're just like stuck in your beliefs of what you think's possible. And it's so cool to, again, just seeing results inside of our own program. Like, we're like, hey, do this, people do it. And you're like, weird, it worked. And even it's hard because I get it. Like the longer you've been doing hair, I think the more stuck in your patterns you get.
Oh, for sure.
And the more kickback you get. So it's interesting because I work with students that are like super new in the game, like 3 to 5 years, and they're like smashing it. They're more teachable. They're easier. They just are. I work with stylists that have been in the game in like 10, 15 years. I'm like, holy fuck. I have to like literally like be like break down old patterns, and they're like whatever they're not comfortable with. It's like so much easier to break with a newbie than it is like with somebody who's been in the game for so long. And business evolves, marketing evolves, hair evolves. You have to evolve if you want to keep up in this game. And why would you not want to keep up in this game if it just increases your overall knowledge of business marketing and sales, as well as your overall craft gets better and just experience in life? Like, I think people get so stuck in their head, and even myself at every level, I find myself getting in that same spot. And now I've experienced so much growth in the last like 5 years since I started my brand that when I find myself getting in that mindset, I'm like, I literally, I'm like, fuck. And I just like, I'm like, you know better. This seems scary. This seems hard. This seems something I can't do, but you know better. And when I hold myself accountable, then it allows me to open up space and freedom to be like, okay, this is scary and I'm still going to move forward. And that's one thing that we get a lot with is students is like, I'm scared, I don't know. And it could be something as simple as letting go of haircuts and seeing gaps on your books. Mm-hmm. And the more you do that, the more when you approach a scary situation at every level, you go in with a little bit more confidence and certainty. And certainty and confidence sells way more than just having a big ego.
So, guys, thank you for being here for the Big Money Stylist podcast, episode number 64. If you would like to see what we're doing and all the mannerisms along with the voices and the hand motions that go with my voices, go to bigmoneystylistnow.com, and we will see you guys next week.